Hello, and welcome to episode 2 of The Hobo Show. I'm your host and only person around, George, also known as Chooch99, and I'm here in Augusta, Maine, as a hobo, a veteran who is waiting to get housed and waiting for a disability claim to go through, and I'm in my graveyard, which is where I do all my podcasts for the next X amount of time. Not that long. Things are looking good. But anyways, today, I'm going to review episode 8 of the Orville, and the episode is entitled Into the Fold. Now, this episode I watched a little late on Fox, their app, and I will say this: the Orville is a secret, brilliant experiment by Seth MacFarlane. And what do I mean by that? I figured him out. I figured you out, Seth. I figured you out. I think that he played a bait and switch, a good bait and switch on Fox. He knew that they were not going to allow him to experiment with some sort of a drama that rips off Star Trek, but he wanted to tell a passionate story. And so what he did was he played a bait and switch. He made the first episodes very heavy, with a lot of one-liners and comedy, so that he could make a trailer that looked really funny. And the board, who trusted him from Family Guy and all the other shows he does, Futurama especially, Bender and Isaac, I think, are two sides of the same coin. But anyways, I digress. And I think that he wanted to tell a serious story, but he's sneaking it into this to get the Fox execs, because he knows how the game works, to air this show. And then, lo and behold, he knew what would happen. The fans would embrace it, the ratings would justify it, and they would not question his motives anymore for what is the Orville. There was a price to be paid, and that was early critics saying that the Orville didn't know what it wanted to be. Bullshit. Seth MacFarlane knew from the beginning what he wanted the show to be, but he knew that in order to promote it and to get it on the air, he had to play a little game with Fox, and it worked. And it paid off, and oh man, he's brilliant. My hat's off to him. Here's my hat. I took it off just for Seth MacFarlane for what he did, because the Orville is exactly what I think he was intending. And people are starting to warm up to it. Whereas the early reviews, you either loved it or you hated it. Now people are warming up and going, what's going on? This show's actually good and dramatic instead of just a parody farce like Galaxy Quest or something, which isn't a bad thing, except that people were saying it wasn't funny. I don't think it was meant to be. I think he just had to wrap it in a funny package in order to not... Because if you don't do parody, you're going to get sued by CBS. Because it's so much like Star Trek. But I think they also know that it's an homage and it's a parody, but at the same time, Fox is a competing network. So I think the way Seth did it, he worked around the legal issues, and he took to tell his vision of what he wanted to do. And this episode, to me, clinches that. Because what this episode is about is the Dr. Finn character played by Penny Johnson, who, by the way, was in Star Trek Deep Space Nine as Sisko's second wife, and she's a good actress, and she is one of the better, veteran actors on the show. But the real star of the show, it was about her and her kids. You didn't know she had kids until... And they're taking along Isaac, who's like the robot character of the show. Now, what makes Isaac stand out in this episode is totally starring Isaac. Don't be fooled by the way that it's supposed to be a Dr. Finn episode with her kids. It's really about Isaac. Isaac's the focus. He's the one who actually stands out by the end. And what I like about Isaac is he's possibly a villain. I don't think he is a good guy. I think that it's a funny kind of Bender type thing. Well, sort of. Hear me out. I think his goal was to study humanity like Data wanted to in Star Trek The Next Generation. He wanted to understand humans. But the twist is so that his race could beat them later. And that, I think, is actually what's happening. I don't think Isaac's meant to be... I think he'll change his mind, but I think his mission was to be planted on the Orville, understand and study them from the inside, pretending to be a crew member, and then he would hand over the information to his superiors. And we're going to see an episode where they say, you did your mission, now what have you found out for us? So that they could use that data to beat the Union. And I think by the end, they're going to backfire their plan, because Isaac's going to actually Well, he might not. That's the twist. He might actually, all along, just be doing what he's supposed to be doing and not really caring. He doesn't understand emotions. They do it in a way that's really funny. The kids, there have been some critics out there who don't like episodes that focus on kid actors because if they're not awesome, exceptional actors, you're going to be like, oh my god, I hope I never see these kids on the show. They're actually pretty good. I like them. And it's realistic. The way they fight with each other, it's handled realistically. I'm not sure I buy the whole I don't need a man, I impregnated myself feminist agenda. Well, okay, I'm sorry, it's not a feminist agenda. It's the agenda that happens to line up with what feminists would like, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying that. But I think it's like they heavy hand the whole point she makes. There is no father to Isaac. I didn't feel I needed a partner. I'm not sure that that message is needed to be shoved down our throats. But I'm going to give it a pass because that's an opinion and it's not a fact. So I'm going to let it go. It's not a big deal anyways. But the only thing is, though, is if that was her goal to have kids because she planned it, why would you bring them on the Orville, which is going into a dangerous situation? I guess it's fair to say pioneers in the frontier back in the 1800s. If they wanted to explore and do their thing, they kind of had to. If they wanted a family, they had to kind of bring it with them, and they had to have some risks. So I think you could say that's fair to say. So it's not like they were saying, I'm going to bring kids into danger. They're pioneers, and pioneers kind of have to live a risky life in order to do what they're doing. I'm going to give that one a pass too, even though a lot of critics might say, oh, they're endangering their children. First Bortis, now doctor. Do we have anyone else with kids we don't know about? It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, this is in the far future. Things might have changed, and not only that, but it's a frontier. Like I said, I keep saying it, but in the frontier situation, and when you're a pioneer, if you're going to go way out deep into the unknown, you've got to bring your family with you, whether it's dangerous or not. And those family members are going to grow up to be contributors to that mission, and they're going to be fine as long as they love it, because you could be. No matter what. Anyways, the point I'm trying to make is it was a good episode. Great episode, in fact. The tone keeps shifting and taking chances on Orville, and I like that a lot. Seth MacFarlane, like I said, I believe he totally pulled a bait and switch on Fox because every episode gets a little less comedic and a little more serious. Though they always throw in the good one-liners like Bortis, take us into the glory hole or whatever. That was hilarious. And I think that they're always going to use those cheesy character one-liners like, oh, let me explain what a glory hole is, and then use it at the right time. And that's just to remind us. That's the whole point. They're going to remind us it's the Orville, not Star Trek. But in honesty, I think Orville in some ways is the better Star Trek out there. Discovery is a good show. It's different than all the other Treks. But the Orville's the one that I look forward to the most every week. And not just because it's free, although that's a big-ass plus when you're a hobo. See what I did there? Alright, that's all for this week. If I have any further in-depth analysis of the episode after a second review, or second viewing, I'll let you know. In the meantime, peace out. Orville hasn't established a live on and prosper type thing. They really got to separate themselves from Star Trek a little bit more as things go on if they want to keep going. Because CBS is going to sue them. They are. Anyways, all I'm going to say is they don't have any catchphrases on the Orville. They need to make one so that I can say it on the show. Seth MacFarlane, if you happen to see this episode, come up with a catchphrase. Something that everybody, like, you know how you live long and prosper and stuff like that? Come up with, or may the force be with you for Star Wars, come up with something that people identify as Orville fans. By the way, convention people, what are you calling yourselves? If Whovians for Doctor Who, Trekkies, what are Orville fans? Orville-lites? Because that sounds stupid. You sound like a popcorn lover. Come up with something, people. Peace out, and may the Orville live long and be with you. See what I did there? Yeah, bye.